Hi again. More records from my visit to Ontario, my holidays, and these all came from a record store in Oshawa, which is just east of Toronto. The store is called Star Records. It's on Simcoe Street right now. They've been in business for 37 years, and I was a customer right from 1974 when I was very young, and I've been going back. Every time I go back to Ontario, I stop in and say hello and buy some good records there. The first one is from Record Store Day, and I was really amazed that they still had this in the store. It's the last copy. It's the Beach Boys. It's a double 78 RPM issue of Good Vibrations, backed with Heroes and Villains. And I do have a turntable that plays 78s, so I can play this. I haven't opened it yet, but I can play it. And I hope that 78 RPM is the ultimate in fidelity for this recording, because it's just going so fast, around and around. 78, that's pretty fast. Next one is a Canadian band from the late 1970s called Wireless. Now, Wireless were signed to Atlantic Records by Gary Muth, who's a member of the MyGen mailing list, and who I know through the mailing list. They also recorded for Anthem. They were managed by Rush's management company. They had 2 albums on Anthem, I think, in the early 1980s. But that's their lone Atlantic album. This is the last proper Grand Funk Railroad album. It's called What's Funk? And the cover looks like a Hypnosis cover, which is kind of catchy. This is a promo copy. It's the only Grand Funk Railroad album that I didn't have, so it was nice to complete that one. It's also fairly hard to find. You don't see that one very often. British album, Steve Hillage. It's called And Not Or. It's on Virgin Records. This album also completes my Doors collection. It's the only Doors album I didn't have. It's the first album they recorded after Morrison's death. It came out in 1972, and it's called Other Voices. So it's the Doors without Jim Morrison. This is an American copy. Notice it's a cutout. It did not stay in print all that long. It was in the delete bins fairly quickly. This is a very cool record here. It's called Surfin' Craze by the Fantastic Baggies. Now, this is a British import. The original copy of this from 1964, it's, you know, a $200 or $300 record at least. It's very rare. It's in stereo, and the Fantastic Baggies were actually P.F. Sloan and Steve Barry. P.F. Sloan is more famous for all the great hits he wrote back in the 60s, like Eve of Destruction, Secret Agent Man, Must to Avoid for Herman's Hermits, and he started the Grassroots, wrote some of their early material. But this is just a really good Beach Boys-like surf album. Instrumental surf music. This is Satan's Pilgrims. I have one of their CDs, and it's really, really good. I think this is their most recent release. It's called Sykesploitation. Kind of instrumental guitar stuff. This album here, it's the Kinks. It looks like Schoolboys in Disgrace, and the photo, front and back, is very much like that. It's a double album, and it's French. It's a collection of their RCA material, a lot of their hits when they were in the early 1970s and signed to RCA. It's a very cool one to find. Chase. Chase, they had a big hit single in the early 70s called Get It On, which was a lot like Chicago or Blood, Sweat and Tears. And this is the album. Kind of jazz album. Buddy Rich and Max Roach, both drummers. Buddy Rich also did an album with Gene Krupa that was called The Drum Battle, and this is Buddy Rich versus Max Roach, and it's a similar kind of album. Now, a couple of power pop staples. Big Star. This is the first Big Star album, Alex Chilton. And I had an original copy of this back in the 1970s. And stupidly I sold it somewhere along the way, but now I've replaced it. Also Big Star, Radio City. These have been re-released. This is an album that the Beatles might have made had they stayed together. It's the first Klaatu album, and they're Canadian. Klaatu was released on Daffodil Records, and it's a beautiful cover. If you've heard most people have heard this album. It sounds just so Beatlesque. In the power pop vein again, we have Matthew Sweet. This is an album that came out originally, I think in the 1990s. It's called Blue Sky on Mars. Matthew Sweet, and it's been re-released on vinyl now. And each one of these is personally autographed by Matthew Sweet. I haven't opened it yet, but I guess Matthew Sweet's autograph is going to be on this inside somewhere. Now, I love instrumental rock music like The Ventures and that type of thing. This is the Fireballs album Torquay. It's a reissue on Sundays. The Fireballs recorded at Norman Petty's studio in Clovis, New Mexico, where Buddy Holly also recorded there. But these were recorded in the early 1960s. Really good instrumental music. Blue vinyl. And the last one to show you is it's a British Invasion album. The Honeycombs. Now the Honeycombs were in the first wave of the British Invasion. They had a big hit in the summer of 1964, Have I the Right? And it was produced by Joe Meek, the producer who produced the Tornadoes hit Telstar, I think a year or two before. Now the Honeycombs are also famous by having a girl drummer, Honey Lantry, that you'll see right there. This is a nice find. Thank you for watching.